In the next few minutes, I'm going to go over the importance of mulch and how it works hard for your garden, so keep watching. Welcome to True Freedom Permaculture, where I give you all the tips and tricks you need to have a green thumb, even if you weren't born with one. If you don't already have mulch in your garden, you might consider adding some. The regenerative qualities of a good layer of mulch help to support a lot of harvesting. When we harvest something out of the soil, we take out a lot of the nutrients and the minerals. And that's great because hopefully we're ingesting them, and that's why fruits and vegetables are so good for us. But in order to keep that sustainable, we have to give back some of what we take out. When I put a layer of mulch in my garden, I notice a big difference in the quality of what I'm growing. My plants grow faster and they are also healthier. Now there's a few reasons for this. First is that it's a very effective insulator. If you have a layer of mulch on your garden bed, the soil beneath it won't get quite as hot during the summer and it won't get quite as cold during the cooler months. Essentially, it serves as a buffer for extreme variations in temperature. Welcome to my collard green bed from last year. And in my zone, collard greens are not supposed to be perennial necessarily, but I do think a big part of why they survived the winter, which it is spring, so as you can see they have survived, is because I had a layer of mulch down. These are sending up their flowers, so I'm going to let them self-seed, and they make a nice colorful addition to the garden. But let's take a look at what I have down here. I have a variety of twigs, all different shapes and sizes. I have some wood chips, and I also have some dried leaves from the fall, so you can see bits of that there. And they all come together to create this really nice insulation layer for this bed. Secondly, it acts as an effective weed barrier. Now, it's not foolproof, so you still might want to put a layer of cardboard or several sheets of newspaper down on the ground under your mulch, because it still allows a little bit of light to get through, and you'll notice that you still have some weeds coming up. And that's what I do. I'll show you, I'm creating some pathways in my garden right now, and so I'm covering up the grassy area here, and I'm just using cardboard boxes that I've broken down, layering them, and then adding my wood chips on top. So you still do need some kind of barrier, but I will say that, mulching heavily like this really cuts down dramatically on the amount of time that I spend weeding my garden. Also, it prevents against soil erosion and from conditions such as heavy rain and high winds. Especially if your garden is situated on the top of a hill, it makes that garden especially vulnerable to conditions such as these. So if you have really light, dusty soil, having a layer of mulch will help keep these things in place. The last reason I'm going to go over today is that it saves you from having to water your garden so often. And who doesn't love that? The layer of mulch helps to not only retain the moisture if you're using organic matter, but it also helps keep the moisture in the soil. And I love to cut down on water usage, not to mention the time and effort that it takes to go around, hosing down your garden. So let's take a look now at how the role of mulch plays a part in a natural setting. In the forest, you'll see that the ecosystem naturally creates mulch. So if you take a look on the ground here, you'll see some fallen sticks, some bird poo, and leaves and pine needles. And what this does is all of this adds organic matter to the soil, creating space for healthy plants to grow. Now let's take a look at how this plays out in a desert landscape. Even though it's a much hotter, drier climate than the forest I just showed you, you'll notice the soil still does not like to be left bare. Here you can see you have some desert grasses that are growing on the ground, and also you have rocks, gravel basically. And the one thing that remains consistent no matter where you are is that the soil does not like to be uncovered. If you're living in a desert climate, you can use a nice layer of gravel to really hold in and retain that moisture that's so precious in desert climates. Now that you fully understand the importance of mulch, make sure that you're ready by the time the fall comes around, because at that time, the trees around us provide us in abundance with a bunch of mulch for free in the form of fallen leaves. In this video that's coming up, click on it and I will show you exactly how and why to use these leaves to improve your garden. I'll meet you over there.